All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday afternoon, Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, whenever you are tuning in. UFC 310, 6 p.m. Eastern. Man, Big Marley, we're sharing the stone like we always do over here at SHIPIT Nation. Right away, what I look at, 14 fights, absolutely money right there. 2 5-rounders as well. Shopcott, Ian Garry, Pantoja, and Asakura. Going to be such a great card. Very excited. Real life, DFS. I'm all in on it. Super, super fun. T-Mobile, the last pay-per-view of the year. Sean Sullivan, Nate D, what is going on? Big Marley, how's your week going? Thoughts on this UFC 310 card we got this weekend?
Good, yeah. Got a solid game tonight, so definitely can't complain about that one. Looking forward to watching it after we end the podcast. Hopefully I'll have a sweat going. But yeah, I think this is it's definitely not my favorite pay-per-view. Like, I'm not pumped to spend $80 on these fights, I don't think, but I do think it's an interesting DFS card, and as long as my lineups are live, then let's throw down that $80 type thing. But there's 2 that everyone's going to target, the 2 5-round fights, and then after that it's kind of sprinkled all around, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to talking with you, although I've already looked at your sheet and I think we're like eye to eye already. So
nice.
Hopefully that's a good thing, and hopefully it's a good weekend for us.
And I always love being eye-to-eye with you for sure. I love the hoodie, the UFC hoodie, and shout out to you. Hopefully you will have a sweat. You've had a lot of sweats this year in Showdown. Coming, the third nuts? It was solo that you last time. I mean, you're right there. You'll never complain about $11,000, though. Awesome stuff, Big Marley.
Yeah, I'll take it right on.
Absolutely. What's going on, Rio? Another guy very familiar with winning a boatload of cheese. Good luck this weekend. Rio, NBA Streets, still 1 Showdown game left. I know many watching on playback, but do have Showdown content. NBA Monday through Saturday, NBA Showdown right there. NFL is going, college football is going, no better team. NHL, shout out Big Nate. Of course, MMA is going on. No better.
You just went on mute.
Damn, what the heck? Did I just?
I hear you now.
Okay, was I on mute for a little bit, or I just was on mute?
It just went on mute. It sounds different now, though, so something may have came undone, but I hear you, though.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. It says my microphone's good.
Oh, actually, now I hear you better, so I think you're good. You just went on mute again.
Bro,
Yeah.
oh, my gosh. Now I just stopped. Oh. Hold on. We're going to get there.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
All right. Hopefully that's good. I just cannot move that. What I was saying is, though, all these sports, shout out Nades and NHL, college football team, the best, NFL going on. We do have a promo. This will be going away pretty soon. Tambo mentioned it is Black Friday weekend. Or last Friday. So this is up a little too long. So I do not know when Tambo's taking it down. But it is working right now. BF50 does get you 50% off. If you want Shiptimizer, it's an extra $30. So you get $99 if you want the NFL season, $129 with Shiptimizer. Our all access monthly with Shiptimizer, $99. Cut that in half, $49.50 with BF50. Otherwise, $69 a month with no optimizer. Cuts it down to $34.50. No better deal out there. Again, I don't know when this is going to be pulled away. So if you want to give us a try over at SHIPIT Nation, BF50 is the code. Definitely do get in the Discord as well, where you will see Sean, Nate D, Hebrew. What's going on, IO? Hope everything's going well. Let's talk some fights, Big Marley. Again, I guess you kind of said yours, and I agree. Like, it's going to be the 2 5-round fights that are getting ownership. Pantoja, Shavkat will be the highest owned. You see there is a good amount of big favorites on this card, but we do have a couple of closely lined fights too. Again, 14 of them. I'm not fight stacking. I don't love the dogs, but with 14 fights, I do expect some to come through. Got to probably eat some chalk in MMA DFS, but I know I won't be jamming both these fights or making a rule that both of them in all teams. Any initial thoughts, though, before we go fight by fight?
Yeah, I was wondering your thoughts on that. I'm not against jamming both of them, to be honest with you, but I like the main event more, and I might make a rule for that one. I just have a hard time seeing that main event not on the optimal lineup at those prices. But at the other end, I think the Rakhmonov side is usually aggressive enough to pay off a $9,200 in a win. So that makes me want to be all in. And then Garry is cheap, so he's the one I would worry about. But in a 5-round fight, I don't know. I might make a rule. I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm going to make a rule. We'll get to it, but I am making a rule Pantoja fight. Like, I just think the pace will be so high. It feels hard at those prices. It doesn't get there. If the Shavkat Garry fight's on the feet enough and the upper range is so loaded, 105 might not be enough. Like, if he goes to his wrestling early and often, again, we'll get to it, but I won't be making a rule for that one. I don't mind at all if you do. I think there's enough ways to get different, but just playing one of those fights and fading the other is a way to get different for sure. And with 14 fights, fingers crossed everyone makes weight, it is easier that some 3-round fight does outscore them. Let's get into it though, Big Marley. Plenty to talk about. First fight of the night, Kennedy Njeku taking on Lucas Brzeski. Again, I always pointed out for the Stone, I put all these odds in on Tuesday and then I update it tomorrow. But I like to compare what the odds were on Tuesday, what I read off right now to see where line movement went. So Kennedy now minus 500. So Breski's gotten some line movements. Brzeski plus 375 on the other side. Minus 260 for this fight to finish. Kennedy minus 215. Brzeski plus 800. Easy for me to start. Brzeski fade. And 20 and below, no interest. Kennedy, second highest price fighter on, or third highest, price fighter on the card. I definitely like him more than Bryce Mitchell. He has the best inside the distance prop on the slate with Hooper, best round 1 prop. His ownership has to be intact or in check to an extent because of Pantoja, Shavkat, and then Chase Hooper. If people are going all the way up, he's plus what, 165? Last I checked in round 1. Yeah, plus 165 in round 1. Big boys, Brzeski stinks. I'm going to play some Kennedy. If I had 20%, I'd be fine with it. If I had 45%, I'd be fine with it. I do prefer Hooper in a vacuum, Pantoja in a vacuum, Shavkat in a vacuum. However, Hooper 300 more, that is a lot, and you could drop the 300 and get different that way. Pantoja, Shavkat are cheaper, obviously with more ownership, but I'll play some Kennedy, no Lucas, and pretty easy for me. How do you see it?
Yeah, very similar. Definitely on the Kennedy side. I don't really have any interest in Lucas. With 150, I'm not going to X him out, though. I'd be fine with 10% or so on Brzeski just because they're heavyweights. It only takes one big shot for these guys. He's plus 800 to win inside the distance. That's about an 11% chance. So I'm fine with that, or like 5 to 11%, something around those odds. But if I'm just making 10 lineups, hand built, yeah, I'm staying away from Brzeski, and it's Njoku or pass, Njoku or pass. But I think this is a fight where just Njoku's better everywhere. I don't look for him to. I don't think he's going to go out there and look for takedowns in this fight, but he could if he wanted to, and he could have a lot of success and score well in a decision if that were the case. But he is primarily a striker, so I don't expect that. He could come with high volume and then get a first round, a late first round knockout, 120 points, be on the optimal that way. So I definitely want him. And you said, what, 25 to 40%? You don't really care anywhere from there?
Yeah.
I don't mind that range. I'd probably say for me, give me like 35 to 55%. I'll up it like 10%. But it kind of just depends on how much I can fit with him and Hooper. I don't really know. I haven't built 150 lineups yet. But I just imagine I want to try to be above the field on Kennedy. So I would probably need closer to 35 or more to do that.
Yeah, the thing is, it's just like, because I know I love Pantoja. Like, I might want 80% of him. I know I love Shavkat. I do prefer Hooper in a vacuum at the end of the day. And, like, I don't like Hooper-Kennedy teams because I want at least one of the main events for the most part, save a little that way. So I just, at the end of the day, I don't know how many I'm going to be able to get to. In chalkier teams, I'll lean more Kennedy. I'm fine saving the 300. But, yeah, like, I don't think he has the wrestling upside like a Chase Hooper or some of these guys do. Masvidal, Evloev, we'll get to that fight, I think, which is interesting. But I do expect the 9K range to definitely score. But no doubt Kennedy, one of the biggest favorites, one of the best inside the distance props. Good card taking on a very bad heavyweights. Let's keep it rolling. I love how these fights are back-to-back. The biggest favorite and highest price fighter on the card, Chase Hooper minus 1,200 taking on Clay Guida, plus 750, minus 200 for this fight to finish. Hooper minus 215 inside the distance. Clay Guida plus 1,600. Hooper in round 1 plus 180. Looking at the stone, first thing that stands out to me, I guess right here, 38-21 record for Guida. That's insanity. Hooper 14-3. 42 years old for Clay Guida. 25 for Chase Hooper. 6'1" Chase Hooper is. 5'7" Guida. And then 4-inch reach advantage for Hooper. I mean, every single thing on the tail of the tape leads me, to believe Chase Hooper is going to go out and maul this old man. That's what I'm picking. Hooper knocking down Slava claws, keeps growing into his body, only 25 years old. This dude's going to be a problem, man. So, yeah, it's Hooper easily. And do you have any hot takes, I guess?
Yeah, Hooper or pass for me. I mean, Guida's going to be 43 years old like next week or something like that. This is just a setup fight for Hooper to win. Like, Guida's not a guy who's going to go out there with a ton of power and knock him out. Usually you want Guida to go out there and mix in takedowns and just show his cardio off, and that's how he's going to win fights. But not in this matchup. If you're going to go out there and get takedowns against Hooper, you're in trouble probably. These guys actually grappled within the last year or so, I think. And Hooper submitted him with a calf slicer in round 1. I mean, calf slicers are nasty. I think he can submit him multiple ways, and that's what I expect to see. First, second round submission. I don't think Hooper's a guy like an Evloev who can go out there and get 10 takedowns in this fight, but he can get 1 takedown, land 30 strikes, and then get a submission at the end of the first round. So I definitely like Hooper. I hate $8,700. I don't know how much I'll be able to afford of him. So I almost think going down to Kennedy, saving that $300 just might make the rest of my lineup look better. So maybe I end up with more Kennedy than Chase, but I don't know. I just like them both. I expect them both to win. I would be pretty shocked to see Hooper lose, but like if Kennedy got cracked and knocked out, it wouldn't be the most surprising thing I'd ever seen. So I do prefer Lucas to Guida on that side, but I really don't have a big preference on the Hooper versus Kennedy.
That makes sense. I definitely prefer Brusky over Guida if having to pick two. I do prefer Hooper to Kennedy slightly, but because of 300 savings, I'm with you. It's not too strong of a lean. I'm not playing Guida. I probably wouldn't play Guida in 3,000 teams. Brusky, I'd get a little bit. I don't really have any more to add. We're talking 2 of the biggest favorites to start. 14 fights. I'll take a shot on these other dogs. Guida and Brusky will be 2 of the lowest owned on the card. So if you want to take that route, but with 14 fights, ownership more spread out, more combinations, you don't have to get as crazy. I'd rather fade the Shavkat Garry fight than I would play Guida or Brusky, is how I'm going about it. What's going on, Ross? Always appreciate your support. Yep. Last pay-per-view and then one other card on the year. Then we get a nice little 1-month break, but this one should be a good one for sure this weekend. Let's keep it rolling, Big Marley. Next fight on the card, Max Griffin taking on Michael Chiesa. So we see right here on the stone, Griffin 8,300, Chiesa 7,900, and the odds -122, Griffin 102, Chiesa. Well, that switched. That was on Tuesday. Now we're sitting Chiesa's the favorite at -114 is the cheaper fighter. Griffin -106. Inside the distance props, very close. Griffin plus 285, Chiesa plus 295. Right away, what stands out to me? Volume, not great on either side, but Michael Chiesa, 3.35 takedowns per 15 minutes. Griffin over 1 himself, but we get a primary wrestler in Chiesa as the cheaper fighter who is now the favorite. And you see it right here for Big Marley. He thinks he's indifferent to this fight, and I totally agree, but Chiesa is your preferred side. I see it the exact same way. Chiesa, my preferred side. I don't love Griffin much. Like, it feels like him winning a striking decision is his most likely path, and that's not going to score on this card, especially in the mid-tier. We'll get to like Cody Durden, Joshua Van. I think that's a banger. Landwehr, Choy, that's a banger. You got to score in this range. So Chiesa or pass really for me. How do you see it?
Yeah, basically the same. I do want a good amount of Chiesa. He's one of my favorite underdogs on the card, because if Chiesa wins, he's going to put up a good score. It has to come on the ground. He has no striking, so it's going to have to be multiple takedowns and lots of top control time, and he can score well in the decision. But I think he's almost more likely for a couple takedowns, lots of top control. Max eventually gives up his back. Chiesa takes a rear naked choke. So that's how I have it going down. Chiesa by submission. I want a good amount of it. I probably get 40%, maybe more Chiesa in my lineups. And then I use Griffin as more of a hedge. I don't like Griffin very much in this matchup. I think a knockout is his only chance to the optimal lineup. There's no way it's just going to be a 3-round striking match. Like, he would dominate in that, but that's just not a Chiesa fight. Chiesa's going to be going for takedowns. So there's going to be time where Griffin's spending time stuffing takedowns or on his back trying to get up to his feet where he's not scoring. And it's going to be the hardest for him to win the first round when Chiesa's fresh. So he drops the first round, let's say. He's taken down right away, loses that. At best in the second round, he wins that with the second round knockout. I don't know if that's enough at that point. So I'll keep him in the player pool, but it's just a hedge to having lots of Chiesa. If I had to make a number right now, it'd give me 40% Chiesa, like 8% Griffin, something like that.
For me in 20 and below, I'll probably max Griffin at 10%. And yeah, I like Chiesa a good bit. Like, if I had 20, I'd be fine. If I had 30, I'd be fine. 35, I think I'd be fine. Maybe that's the max I want to do. Again, there is good fights in the mid-tier and 14 of them, but you liking Chiesa a lot as well. And the price, the line movements. What do you think? Let's see what ownership we have right now. 23? That seems fair. Unless, like, this line gets, like, minus 140-ish. If it hovers around pickup, I think there's enough options in that range. It's still not going to be crazy owned. So I like Chiesa for sure. Don't love the Griffin side, even with leverage.
Yeah, and I'd say if his line goes up, ownership will go up along with it.
Yep, absolutely. Let's keep it rolling. Again, I appreciate every single one watching. Most watch on playback. All we ask from you, take 2 seconds out of your day. Hit that thumbs up if you're on the phone. Just got to get off the video. Hit that little like button. Subscribe button also helps us out a ton. 9,000 subscribers we just got on YouTube. Awesome stuff. We appreciate every single one of you. Good to see you as well, Dwayne. Hope everything's going well with you, my man. Let's keep it going. Next fight on the card. This one should be some fun. Joshua Van taking on Cody Durden. Minus 150 Van. Plus 130 is Durden. Minus 135 for this fight to finish. Van plus 140 inside the distance. Durden plus 350. Looking at the stone, this is the fight that stands out most. And why? Dark green for Van in terms of volume, 8.39 significant strikes per minute. Pretty dark green for Durden in terms of takedowns, 4.36 takedowns per 15 minutes. Another thing that stands out, Van 11 years younger, Durden 2 inches in height and reach advantage. I see it. Striker Van, wrestler Durden. The fight is expected to finish. Price in the mid-tier. I'm in on this fight, man. I like them both. I think Durden is my preferred side if having to pick because of the savings. And when he wins, there's a lot of takedowns and a lot of upside. But if I had more Van than Durden at the end of the day, I'd be fine with that as well. I do think Van will be lower owned. And yeah, we have the same thing. Pretty close, but I do think he'll be a little lower owned due to the price. I love the fight. Talk about it.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I think it's going to be one of the highest paced fights on the card. So I like both sides of it. If Durden wins, it should come with multiple takedowns. I would guess, 6+ takedowns over the course of 3 rounds. And then if Van wins, he can land 150 plus strikes in this fight too. I do trust Van's cardio more in this fight. So I leaned with him as my pick. I love his boxing. I just think he's going to pick apart Durden if Durden can't get takedowns. But I could just see it going either way. And I would probably rather side with Durden at cost as well. Like that $800 probably goes a long way on this card. So I probably side with him too. But yeah, I'm fine with either one of them. Give me 30% Van, 40% Durden. I'm fine with anywhere from like a 25 to 45% on either side, I'd say.
Absolutely. You and I see it lockstep. I want to be overweight on this fight, and I do hope our ownership stays true as total cumulative ownership on this fight. I think it's just too under-owned at the end of the day. Clear pass on both sides. Let's keep it going. Next fight. We talked about this one, 3 weeks ago? We got the shout out to my man Siggy. He watches it. He appreciates the shout outs. But the Eric Anders Weidman fight maybe helped Big Marley. We don't know for sure, but Big Marley did ship the Q in that card 4 minutes before lock. I was able to tag the Discord. My donkey ass couldn't get in the swaps, but some were able to. Hopefully we get the fight this week. Eric Anders taking on Chris Weidman. I will say right away, though, this fight is at a catch weight of 195. They will not make them cut weights again to middleweight. So that's the only difference. Line pretty similar to where it was closing the last time. Weidman, a very small favorite, depending where you look, minus 112, minus 108 on Bet Online, plus 160 for this fight to finish. Anders plus 290, Weidman plus 385. I already didn't like this fight on the last card, but the last card, we needed some value. So I sided Weidman's side because of wrestling and price. The price did close a little bit. I believe it was 8,400, 7,800 last time. Now you see it's 8,200, 8,000. More fights on the card. So I think we need more upside. I like this fight even less than I did on that last card. But I will still be playing some Weidman, I think, mainly because 3.44 takedowns per 15. Can he wrestle 3 takedowns, 7 minutes of control time? I don't know. You tell me, Big Marley, but I don't like this fight. I know you liked Anders a bit on the last card, so yeah, you still have the same feelings.
Yeah, I really didn't care for this fight last time, but I ended up with a little bit more of it than I thought I would until I got that message from you in Discord, and then I just ran to the office real quick, global swapped. But yeah, I'd agree on this card. I like it less. I just like other underdogs more. I like other favorites more. I was on Anders in the last one. I'm still just going to stay on Anders because I think Weidman is more washed. And I also think Weidman's more likely to get knocked out. So give me Anders with the higher ceiling with a first round knockout. But I agree, Weidman could go out there and wrestle. So I'm fine with either side of this fight. I prefer Anders. If that extra $200 makes me go from hating my lineup to liking it, then I'm cool going to Weidman. But overall, this is a fight I'm looking to get away from. But give me Anders to win by knockout or a kind of a boring decision.
Yeah, I don't love this fight much. I'll have probably a little more Weidman because of wrestling, so I guess we differ a little bit. But Anders does have the knockout upside. Weidman, after the leg injury, getting up there in age, he could definitely get knocked out. I hope not, though. I do not want this fight to be optimal, more than likely. But it will be low owned, so you do have that going for you if you want to embrace that. Keep it rolling, Big Marley. Still plenty of fights to talk about. Great work, as always. Next fight, an interesting one. Brian Battle, minus 220. Taking on Randy Brown, plus 185. Minus 160 for this fight to finish. Battle, plus 110 inside the distance. Randy Brown, plus 375. I was a little surprised at first glance looking at the odds. I always do on Monday, usually just a first thought. I was like, man, they are really giving a lot of respect to Battle against Randy Brown, a UFC vet who's definitely fought better competition, big for the division. But the more you look into it, I get it. Battle's good, man. He has really impressed me. The durability, the chin on this guy, and he just has freaky power. When he touches people, they definitely feel it. And I think he has the out to wrestling if he wants to take that approach. So, minus 220 steep, no way. We loved Alberg, and I said, I would bet him at minus 220, parlay piece. It was a boring fight. It got there. I don't see that at all with Battle at minus 220. But DFS-wise, what's interesting, he's right by Pantoja. Pantoja 100 more. Evloev 200 more. Shavkat a couple hundred more. His ownership has to be in check. And you look at this fight, minus 160 to finish, plus 110 inside the distance for Battle. Battle, my preferred side. I'm fine with Brown if he wins a 72-point decision, and that's somehow enough. But I still prefer Battle while being 1,200 more as my preferred play in this fight due to upside. How do you see it?
Yeah, I agree. That was a great breakdown. I think this is an awesome fight. It should be a fun one. And, the line kind of looks a little bit wide, but it's hard to disagree with it based on how good Battle looked in his last fight. But every single time he fights, he looks better than he did the last time. But man, he just looked so good in that last fight where like the pressure was there, the volume was there, the power was there. He was shooting for takedowns. He was the one controlling the fight. Like he looked amazing. He looked like a title contender in that fight. So I'm definitely going to pick Battle in this one. He's my preferred play. I don't really love Brown, but it's a $7,500. If he wins, he has a chance to put up a decent score. So I'll keep him in the player pool. I like other guys more, so I'd probably I see me maybe 10 to 15% Brown, something like that. But I'd be fine getting 15 to 35% Battle. I like him, and I'm looking forward to this fight.
Yeah, and like we haven't projected. Again, I don't like saying all the ownerships. That's a big piece of our product over here. MMA, a big ownership game. MMA projections. You can see our projections and ownership. Always all our content posted on Friday. But I will say 18% we have for Battle. 100 more Pantoja, 51%. Clear leverage right there. And again, you don't just got to go 1-for-1, etc. But it shows in that pricing range. He's definitely going to be lower owned and a pivot with a solid inside the distance prop at plus 110. I'm really interested to get your take on this one, Big Marley, for a multitude of reasons. Real life, how the fight plays out, DFS. This one should be I don't know if I hesitate. It should be fun for people. I love just watching pure grappling, MMA, scrambles, etc. Like Evloev, all he does is go to decision. So fun people want to see people die. This isn't the fight really to see, but yeah, I mean, very, very talented. Evloev minus 225, taking an Aljamain Sterling. Plus 190, the most likely fight to go the distance on the card, minus 325. So it's plus 250 to finish. Evil at plus 350 inside the distance. Sterling plus 625. I mean, man, the one thing I had was all 8 fights of Evloev in the UFC, all of them have gone to decision. He still averages 103 DK points in his wins. That is absolutely crazy. 4 of them scored less than 100. 4 scored 110 plus, and 3 of those 4 scored over 120. Does he have that 110 plus upside in this one, do you think, Big Marley? Can Aljo get back up and then just keep getting dumped when is taken down? Can Aljo get a backpack and secure a whole round? It's a good one. How do you see it?
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is a tough one. Evloev could be a future champion. He's got great wrestling. He can land, 10 takedowns in a fight. He's got the striking too. I don't think he's like championship caliber striking, but he's definitely Sterling level, I would say, at this weight class. He can hang in there. I don't really know who wins the striking between these guys, to be honest with you. So it's close there. Evloev probably the better wrestler, but Sterling is just nasty on the mat. Sterling could be the more dangerous grappler, and I think he's live to get takedowns of his own. If he gets takedowns, can Evloev do anything about it? I have no idea what's going to happen in this one, so I just threw 3 on both sides. I like the fight, though, so I put it as a 4-star, but this is closer to a 3-star than it is a 5-star for me, just because I have no idea, and maybe the grappling cancels out, and we do see more of the striking than we would want to see for DFS purposes. If that's the case, I don't think either one of these guys is making the optimal lineup. But at these prices, Sterling is my preferred play. I'm going to pick him to win because the odds talked me into it, but I'll have a good amount of both sides. I might have 30% of both sides.
We are a little different. Like, I'm picking Evloev. He is my preferred play. I do think he probably is the future champion. I do think he is the better striker than Sterling. And because of all that, like, I agree with you. I don't know if I would have it a 3 or 4-star either. Like, the Evloev side, because he can get 110 plus in a decision, is so strong that way. But again, he's priced between Pantoja and Shavkat. There's Hooper up there. There's Kennedy up there. He's taken on a very good wrestler, grappler himself. Aljo always has that 5-minute backpack, as our man's saying right here, to Wayne. Like, he got Piotr Jan with it. He got him early, I think like 35 seconds in. He took the back. Jan couldn't go anywhere. As good as I think Evloev is, I don't think he really gets out of Aljo's backpack. And then if that's the case, 10 minutes for Evloev to get a ceiling, probably not there. So I think I'd probably rather be with the field or underweight than take an overweight stand. But I do like Evloev as my preferred play. So maybe I just go close to him with the field, then a little underweight Aljo. But I mean, I don't even really know what the field's going to do. Like, this was the fight one of the fights I was most interested in your ownership for, because most likely to go the distance. Evloev, very boring, but both wrestling, and obviously we know what that does on DraftKings. So, yeah, very, very fun, interesting fight. I'm excited for this one. I'm on the Evloev side, though. You prefer Sterling slightly, it sounds like, but not a very hot take. That's why you put the both.
Yeah, Evloev is the guy with the higher ceiling by a long shot, but Sterling is just one of those live dogs who I would say if Sterling wins and if Randy Brown wins, like Sterling for 200 less, he probably scores more.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would agree with that for sure. The wrestling upside and on DraftKings, control time, etc., is just outweighs striking for sure. Let's keep it going. We are about halfway through the card. A very interesting one right here. Thema Grimbo taking on Vicente Luque. Minus 150. Thema plus 130 is Vicente. Plus 100 for this fight to finish. The dog and Luque, the better inside the distance prop at plus 190. Thema plus 375. I mean, $1,000 difference for the better inside the distance prop by a good amount. I see you have 4-star for Luque, 2 for Grimbo. Give me the Luque side as well. And you want to get real, real hot or a specific take. How's it not Luque by Darce? How's it not like the Michael Chiesa fight? Panic takedown or just him wanting to shoot a little sloppy? This sub prop for Luque open plus 650. Now plus 350. Grimbo's probably going to wrestle. Luque loves to snatch up that neck. Grimbo's been sub twice. Yeah, I mean, I'm going right for it, man. Give me the dog. Give me the exact way that he does it. If Thema wrestles, I think Luque can snatch something up. I guess thoughts on that. How do you think it goes on the feet? Do you think Thema wrestles? Because that is what he does, but Luque is nasty on the mat. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think Luque is the better striker in this one. Garimbo's probably the better wrestler, but I mean, I'm not positive that that's the case. And then Luque's the more dangerous submission grappler. So, I'm not so sure Luque shouldn't be the favorite in this fight. My only worry is that, like, since that Neal fight and he had the brain bleeding or whatever, like, what's his mental state? Like, is it just more of a mental thing where he is more protective of his brain now? Like, he's like, well, shit, I'm no doctor, but I probably don't want my brain to bleed, so I should avoid getting hit in the head. And if that's the case, then, I mean, his fights aren't going to be that great. But the Luque that we love is just high-pace, action-packed fights. And if Luque wins at 7,600, old Luque, he's almost an optimal all the time. So I'm gonna rock with that. Hopefully he comes back. He was training for Nick Diaz in this fight. That I'm sure he was fired up. This isn't quite the same thing, but coming in as an underdog. And then I watched the first Embedded, and Garimbo's like, I'm going to shock the world. Like, he thinks he's a big underdog or something. Like, buddy, you're the favorite. You're supposed to win. So it's like,
yeah, I don't like that mindset for sure.
Yeah,
like,
buddy, you're looking at yourself as an underdog. Shit, yeah, give me Lucas. I actually already bet Luque. He's my favorite outright underdog pick on the card, I think. So he's my preferred play. I'll be overweight to him, underweight to Garimbo. I'm not against Xing Garimbo out, to be honest with you, but I'd probably get 10% or so.
Yeah, the reason I don't want to X Grimbo out is, I mean, Luque it wasn't a great look at all. Luque against Buckley. Like, it felt like Buckley hardly hit him in the pocket, and the dude flops to his back and just quit. Like, he didn't want to get up. He just accepted the beating. I did not like to see that at all. Like, this is huge, though. The step up in competition for Grimbo, the step down in competition for Luque. And then the reason I won't fade Grimbo is, I think he's going to be low owned as a pivot in the upper tier. Luque might even be higher owned, so you get some leverage. But mainly this, 4.89 takedowns per 15 minutes. If he can get, like, I think he does try and get takedowns. If he has success and he can get out of some submissions, like any guy that will shoot for takedowns that has 4+ upside, 9 minutes of control time, low owned, etc., if he does just absolutely wrestle for days. Again, do I think that happens? No, I am on the Luque side, but trying to make a case for low-owned fighter anytime, like 4.89 takedowns this guy averaged per 15 will be low-owned and is a favorite. I'll take a little sprinkle on that. So definitely prefer Luque, though. We are in lockstep there. 6 fights left. I think some of these fights get really, really easy for me. A couple big favorites. This one, real simple for me. Anthony Smith taking on Dominic Reyes. Minus 370 is Reyes. Plus 295 is Anthony Smith. One of the most likely to finish on the card. I believe actually the most likely. Minus 300. Dominic Reyes minus 170. Anthony Smith plus 400. This line open minus 240 Reyes. Now minus 370. I mean, dude, minus 240. What is this book doing? Anthony Smith is cooked. I think he is fully cooked. Give him 3 leg kicks. He can't walk anymore. He'll be screaming, unfortunately, about the family and breaking in and stuff. I think the dude is totally over the hill. Reyes, I mean, I don't think he's over the hill. 34 years old, sure, but only 13-4, 17 pro fights. Like, he took time off of the John Jones fight. He had his moment against Spann. I think he makes this look easy. I think he KOs Anthony Smith in round 1. I don't even know if I want. I've been going back and forth if I want Smith. He'll be low owned in a great fight, expected to finish, and like it's big guys. So I just think naturally, game theory, I should. But I know ball, I know MMA. I don't want 7 points from Anthony Smith. So what are you doing with him?
Yeah. Well, it depends on how many lineups I make. I did I hand built 10 lineups just to kind of get a feel for it. I ended up deleting them all, so I don't have any right now. But in those 10, I had 0 Anthony Smith. But he is live to win this fight. I mean, if Reyes just doesn't show up, he could get knocked out. He could maybe get outstruck, but Anthony Smith is like less likely to show up. So I'm really not worried about Reyes getting outstruck here. I think it'd be more just Smith catches him in something, maybe even a standing guillotine, or he lands a takedown, and then Reyes could be in some trouble on the ground. But Smith is alive, so I'd keep him in the pool because I do think he would score well if he wins. But I'm with you. Give me Reyes by knockout. I think he probably wants it a lot more at this point. I saw a tweet from saying like Anthony Smith doesn't even care about a win. Like, and that's never a good thing. And he's towards the end of his career. He's already got the whole job.
He made a statement like that. Someone inferred that, or like some random dude's just saying he doesn't think he wants to win.
It was like a tweet, and then I think in parentheses, like from Anthony Smith, something like I don't even care about a win, something like that. So I didn't click on it. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but I could just definitely see that being true. I mean, he's going out there. He likes to fight. He's going to get paid to fight. He's got a desk job lined up. So I don't expect Anthony Smith to go out there and look great. So I'm not totally against Xing him out if that's what you'd want to do. But I feel like 10% just in case is probably more my style. I'll need enough lineups to get there, and I don't know how many that takes. Maybe I need 30 lineups to get to Smith. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, to be honest, I have him underweight, so I might just set him at max 10% if I got 0 fine. The optimal like game theory, you diversify, you play a lot of lineups. He is only like plus 290, most likely fight to finish, get leverage, plus 400 inside the distance isn't bad. He'll be low owned. Like, I do think you should play some Anthony Smith. It's just in my head, I think he gets dusted, so I don't want too much. This is an interesting fight right here. Again, always when I'm reading off the odds, if I was watching the show, I'd be looking at the stone and what I had on Tuesday and what we have now. Some line movement in this one. So now Nate Landwehr, minus 120. Duho Choy, plus 100. Minus 210 for this fight to finish. Open minus 130, Big Marley. Talk about steam. Minus 130 to finish, now minus 210. Both guys great inside the distance props, plus 145 for Landwehr, plus 185 for Duho Choy. Take it away, man. Nate the Train, Duho Choy. How is this fight boring? Sign me up every day of the week, right in the mid-tier as well.
Yeah, it should be a fun fight. All Landwehr fights are fun fights. The way I see this going down is first round's close. Maybe you favor Choy in that round because Landwehr is a slow starter. And also Choy is in my opinion, more live to get a first round knockout. And then after Landwehr goes back to his corner or gets tagged a couple times in that first round and realizes he's in a fight and he turns on crazy mode, that's when we want Landwehr, and he's going to put on a pace. He could knock out Choy in the second or the third, but I think his pace alone is enough to win those rounds on the cards if it goes there. So Nate is my pick to win the second and the third rounds. Maybe a good live betting spot. Just kind of hope that he drops the first, maybe even gets dropped in the first, and then you bet him live after that if he's still alive. And I think he could come back and win the second and the third. So he's my preferred play, but it's another one where it's like, if I need that $600, then cool, give me Choy. And I think he could break the slate with a first round knockout before Landwehr even has a chance to get going. Herbert Burns knocked out Nate Landwehr. So like, it wouldn't shock me at all to see Duo Choy.
That knee was perfectly timed, insane. And how David Onama didn't get Landwehr out. I mean, man, one of the more insane.
He woke himself up from the mat. Like he's flatlined, and then the mat woke him up.
Insane. That was one of the more insane.
I hated that one. I bet Onama in that one, and I was like celebrating. And I was like, what?
And he just completely died. I mean, man, that was quite the fight. With the line movement, I was so indifferent to the fight. And I was already initially leaning Choy a bit because of the savings. And I think Nate the Train, just his name alone and his style, I think gravitates some people toward him. Seeing the 20 cents come back in a couple days on Choy as well, I do think he probably is better in round one, more dangerous, the better striker. Nate just got that dog in him where Choy necessarily might not. But, I mean, Choy's been in some phenomenal fights, the Cup Swanson fight back in the day. I think I prefer Choy if having to pick. It's close because of the savings. Can always just go Landwehr, drop the 600, go Choy and leave it. But I want a lot of this fight. I think it's one of the best on the card. 4 fights left. This one was another one I was curious on your thoughts, and looking at your fight rankings, I think you and I see it very similar. Bryce Mitchell, monster favorite, open minus 550, now minus 950, taking on Crone Gracie, plus 180 for this fight to finish. Mitchell plus 210 inside the distance, Gracie plus 550. Mitchell, the second biggest favorite on the card, second highest price, but his inside the distance is nowhere close to some of these others at plus 210. And do you see it the same way? Bryce, better striker probably. Crone wants it on the back. He will flop to his back. He doesn't care that Bryce Mitchell's a great grappler, wrestler, whatever. He will trust his guard to try and submit anybody and take a shot there. He doesn't want to strike. I'm not sure Bryce is going to be scared or not going to his guard, but I do think he'll have the striking advantage early. Plus 210 to finish. Like Jourdain didn't finish Gracie. It's so hard to finish these guys. They'll flop to their back any single time that they're hurt. You need a big score from Bryce Mitchell, and this just feels like one of those fights. Gracie's laying on his back. Mitchell's kicking him or just staying on top a little bit, but not really close to anything. I love Hooper more. I like Kennedy more. I like Shavkat more. Pantoja more. 20 entry and below. I just can't get to Bryce. I'm definitely not getting a Crone either, so I'm fading this one at 20 and below, unless you talk me into something.
Nah, I don't really care for this. I like this comment a lot more than this fight. But no, I just think this is one of those fights where like we need grappling to take place. They're both solid grapplers. Bryce is a pretty good wrestler too when he wants to be. But Gracie is a really dangerous grappler who doesn't wrestle. So I don't see him getting any takedowns against Bryce. He's going to need Bryce to wrestle him, and then that makes Cron live for the win, but it's submission or bust for him. I do agree that Mitchell's probably the better striker. But if this is a striking match, we don't want either side of it. I do think Mitchell's dumb enough to want to go out there and submit Gracie, which could be a good thing for us, like especially if he does submit him. Not good thing for us if we're not using him, I guess. Good thing for him in DFS, because maybe he could submit Gracie. I don't know. He's decent. I doubt it though. So I don't think the submission comes, but he could rack up enough takedowns just with Cron accepting them to where he scores 115 points in the decision. But I also just don't think that's likely. So I agree. I want to fade this fight. I'm a little leery of Xing out Mitchell out of a player pool, though. So he's another one where if I'm making 20 or less, sure, let's fade him. But 150, I got to keep him in there a little bit. But I just prefer everybody around him.
Yeah, that makes sense. 150, I mainly talk 20 and below since I think that's what most people play. 150, I would play some Bryce Mitchell too. Like, I mean, he's minus 950. Wrestling, grappling, it could be there. Like, I do think, yeah, like you said, he's dumb enough. Like, the dude doesn't care. He thinks he's a better wrestler, grappler. Probably thinks he's better than this clown anywhere. He's minus 1,000. He very well might go out there and try and prove a point. So, yeah, I love Bryce Mitchell, though. That's for sure. All right, 3 fights left. This is a rematch from a couple years back. An interesting rematch. But Volkov, I think, deserves to get a shot again. Cyril Gane, a big favorite, minus 355 over Alexander Volkov, who's plus 290, plus 215 for this fight to finish, plus 300 for Gane, plus 600 for Volkov. Easy, Big Marley. I'm fading Cyril Gane because I want 110 plus in the upper tier. He couldn't even he got what, 85 or something like that in his first win, which was in the Apex in a smaller cage, and 5 rounds. This one's 3 rounds. Outlanded him, I think, like 135 to 115. I mean, he didn't do it then. 85 wasn't enough. Definitely don't see him doing it here. Plus 300. Just a striker, point fighter. Yeah, if he beats me, I'm definitely on to next week. Volkov, I'm going to keep in the pool and cap him because I'm fading Gracie, Bresky, Guida. I need dogs. We play a salary game. But I think he's same thing. I think he gets outpointed. He loses. But I think he does have, excuse me, somewhat of a solid floor. Not that I play dogs for a floor, but it's supposed to go the distance. He landed 115 significant strikes. He can land like 90 in a loss and something. Again, we want wins, so I don't love him, but I do prefer him over Gane, even though I am picking Gane by decision.
Yep, I agree. Knockout or bust for Gane. Yeah, he did score 85 points in their last fight. He had 5 rounds to work with. There's just no way he's going to get there in a 3-round decision. And then on the other hand, like Gane was exposed on the ground since then. So it would be smart of Volkov to be looking for takedowns in this fight. If Volkov can look for takedowns, I think he could hang out in top control the rest of the round if he wants to land a lot of strikes in top control and score well. I also think he could win a striking based decision and score around 10x. So I'm cool with Volkov exposure. I don't want to get crazy with it, but I will like force him into lineups if the shiptomizer's like not giving me anything. I do want probably at least 15% Volkov. And then Gane, I don't know how many lineups it'll take, but he's a big boy. It wouldn't shock me to see a first round knockout from him, and I wouldn't want to miss out on that. So I'm fine getting 10% Gane, but definitely not a guy if I'm making just a couple lineups that I'd want my sweat to be on.
Yeah, I mean, he's plus 700 in round 1, like that. I just can't get there with how much Pantoja, Rakhmonov, Kennedy, Hooper. Like, if he beats me, he beats me. And I've been a Gane guy. Like, he's burned me plenty of times, but I just don't think the upside is good enough personally. But he'll be low owned. He most definitely is a pivot in the bottom or in the top tier. 2 fights left. Again, both of these are 5-rounders. Appreciate every single one. Watching, always appreciate your support. Again, like button, subscribe button, all we ask from you. And if you do want to join us, BF50 is the promo code. Get you 50% off your first month, whether it's with our optimizer, which includes NBA, MMA, and NFL, and a couple other sports as well. If you don't want the optimizer, just $69 a month. Cut that in half. Comes out to $34.50. And then definitely do get in the Discord as well. A lot of people in the chat, always in the Discord. Best community out there. Can't beat the deal. Co-main event time, 5 rounds. Big boy favorite in an important fight in the welterweight division. Shavkat Rakhmonov coming in minus 400, taking on Ian Garry plus 300 on the way back. Minus 250 for this fight to finish. Rakhmonov minus 175. Garry plus 525. I kind of tipped my hand. We said it earlier. I'm making a rule for the Pantoja fight to have them. I'm not in this fight, even though I will have a lot of it. The reason I'm not is Shavkat knocks him out in round 2 or round 3, but doesn't wrestle as much. I think when it's on the feet, it's boring. I think Gary's going to bounce around the outside. It's going to be more point fighting. It's not going to score there. I don't love Garry because I think he's overowned because he's a dog, a popular name, cheap. 5-round fight, I think he'll be overowned, so I want to avoid that. I'm definitely going to be playing tons of Shavkat, but I'm going to throw it to you on this. Do you think he wrestles early and often? It's his easiest path to victory. There's been talks already. Shavkat tapped him out back in the day when they trained together, etc. Feels like the easiest path to victory is wrestling. If it's on the feet, like I want to be underweight this fight. So how do you see it going on the Rakhmonov side?
Yeah, that's what I don't know. Because Rakhmonov could go out there and strike and win a striking match over the course of 5 rounds. So I also think he could knock out Garry. Garry was dropped by Keenan Song.
I was at that fight. Song clipped him in round 1. That was at T-Mobile. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, it was. So I mean, it just wouldn't shock me at all to see Rakhmonov knock him out after seeing that. But yeah, I feel like we want Rakhmonov to go out there and look for takedowns, and then Garry should look to strike. If this is just a slow-paced striking match, Garry wins that. But if it's a high-paced, aggressive striking match, I kind of like Shavkat in that. I think Shavkat's just the better wrestler, more dangerous for sure with submission. So he's going to be my pick, my preferred play. And I was kind of thinking I'm fine going all in. Maybe I do go all in. I'm not sure. But you might have talked me out of making a rule at least, because I could see just the Garry slow-paced kind of affecting Rakhmonov and him coming out a little slower than normal, especially with 5 rounds. And maybe he just doesn't get there, especially if the first round's not a banger. So I'm not against that, especially at $9,200. And when I was hand building, there were a couple lineups that I didn't have Rakhmonov, but I also think like maybe I had a couple too many drinks or something happened, and I thought it was 3 rounds at the time or something. So that's why I deleted them all. And I'll start fresh. But yeah, give me Rakhmonov to win inside the distance. I think he probably puts up a big score in the process, but Garry is a nasty striker, man. I think he's super alive in this matchup. I want Garry exposure too. You can answer this after we talk about the next fight, but I want to know who you like more between Garry and Asakura. But we can talk about that one. Yeah,
Asakura for sure.
Okay.
And the thing is, I guess I don't know how likely it is because I don't love the dogs, but I could see Garry winning a close decision and still scoring 80 points. Like, I don't think he's offensive wrestling. If he does get taken down himself and loses rounds, he's not scoring there. And the reason also I'm not going all in on this fight is I respect Ian Garry a ton. Like, I almost bet him big against MVP. I think he's a very good fighter, and I think this is tough for Rakhmonov. So I think stuff won't come as easy, which is why I just would rather fade the fight more so than I still do think Garry loses. He does get taken down at some point. And again, 14 fights just makes Hooper or Kennedy or Evloev, Pantoja, just more options in the upper tier. Battle, first round knockout. I just think there's other guys that for less ownership, when I know I'm eating Pantoja chalk. And again, I'm going to have plenty of 2 5-round fight stuff as well. But when you fade one of them, it's easier to eat a lot more chalk. So I don't hate making a rule for both of them, though, one bit. But we both do agree we like the Pantoja fight more if having to pick, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Last fight. Let's get right into that fight. Again, 5 rounds. Alexandra Pantoja minus 240 taking Akai. Asakura plus 205. Minus 260 for this fight to finish. Pantoja minus 115 inside the distance. Asakura plus 285. I'm going to throw it to you right away. Asakura, obviously people might be like, who the heck is this guy? Ryzen. He's making his UFC debut. Usually I'm like, UFC debut? Getting a title shot? What are we doing? Well, at the end of the day, Pantoja has dominated this division. I really don't know who else you would throw there. Like, I thought Tyra. They announced Asakura fighting him before the Tyra fight, where Tyra lost to Royval, but I thought Tyra maybe deserved it if he beat Royval. Again, regardless, they announced it before. Pantoja already beat Royval, Moreno. Not really too much fresh blood in the division. But Asakura is a striker. Pantoja is definitely fine wrestling for days, 25 minutes. Can Asakura stuff them? If he can, he's probably the better striker. That's a big if, though, as you can see the line. Doesn't really think Asakura will stuff many takedowns, though. How do you see it going?
Yeah, so we think I didn't dig too deep into Asakura, but we think he's for sure the better striker in this matchup?
I think if he wasn't, then Pantoja should be like minus 450. I guess I'm not too confident in that, but yeah, I mean, otherwise I think this line's insane. I don't think he can wrestle with him. He's the bigger fighter. He does have power. I mean, Urseg, who I respect greatly as well, I thought he was the better striker against Pantoja. Like, if he's kept it on the feet in round 5, it was 2-2. It was really close, but it was clear as day watching it. Urseg, don't initiate in the grappling, and you're beating him. I think Asakura probably is in the similar thing, but I don't think it's like a wide gap by any means.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not sure. I just didn't dig too deep, but he looked good. I mean, he's aggressive. He's just all action, it looks like. I thought he looked good on the ground too. He had nice takedowns. He was good in top control. But man, I'm just not used to seeing those knees to the head when they're on the ground. I was like, oh my God, like every single time. I was just not, man.
Nasty.
That's a different sport over there in Ryzen. But yeah, Pantoja's my favorite freaking play on the board just because I think he is maybe better everywhere. He's a legit champion who can go hard for 25 minutes. He scored 143 points in his last 3 fights, 143. So I expect 143 in this one. He's my favorite play on the board. And then any lineup I don't have him in, I'll have Asakura, but I might be like 80-20, something like that, 75-25. I'm not sure. I will have to watch a couple more fights on this guy, but I just think it's all Pantoja. This is definitely an all-in fight. I want a rule where, well, shit, do I though? Because Asakura goes out there, gets him down, knees him in the head, fight's over. I don't know, man.
You just gotta hope. That's got to be a less than 1% outcome. Like, you really got to think that he knows not to do that. But yeah, I mean, I'm making the rule, and I'm gonna be about 80. I think I like the 80-20 stuff. I wrote exactly that in the slate plan. Like, I want Pantoja will get ownership. We have 51%. I wouldn't be surprised he catches steam to 56. I still want to be overweight that. Like, his pace, his wrestling upside. I mean, even his volume. Like, as a wrestler, and he gets 8 takedowns, still seeing the significant strikes per minute. Fight's supposed to finish. I mean, he's nasty, man. I think Pantoja's a gamer for sure. I'm not picking against him, and I want to be pretty heavily 85-15, 80-20. Like, I'm with you.
Yeah. So for now, that's how I'm going to go about it. But if I watch some more of this Asakura and like him more, I'll update you guys in Discord. But for now, just all Pantoja.
I love it. That's 14 fights, and now we're talking UFC 310 again, 6 p.m. Eastern at the T-Mobile Arena. Fingers crossed, all fighters make weight. Again, when they do weigh in, we put in what they weigh in at. Our ownership projections will be posted tomorrow. You will get that right on the stone. The color coding goes up as well as core report, slate plan, tier rankings, breaks down each tier, and Big Marley's fight rankings. Definitely make sure to go check that out. He puts how he thinks each person wins, a little blurb about the fights as well. Slate plan breaks down every single fight. Again, NBA's going, shout out Rio. NFL's going, college football's going, NHL's going. I don't think NASCAR is. NHL is going. Shout out to Big Nage. No better time. BF50. Not sure how long this will be up. Tambo mentioned today it's been up a little too long, but take advantage. It is still working right now. BF50 gets you 50% off your first month. Also does include Shiptimizer. Discord is included as well. Awesome stuff as always, Big Marley. It's time for me to get out here. Cheer for these Packers who are down 10. They need a little cheering help. So good luck to you. Last week, 11K. I'm hoping you get a shipper today and I see a screenshot. Good luck, everybody, this weekend in the MMA streets. We will see you in the SHIPIT Nation Discord. For Big Marley, I'm Title Town. Peace. Good luck.